take that one.
How do I turn it on?
There's an end button
Okay.
on the lower right side. I think we are live.
You live?
Are we good morning still? Good morning.
Good morning.
Soon to be afternoon.
Yes.
Welcome to another session of Compton to Capital.
Our third one.
Our third one. Thank you to everyone that has been watching, commenting, liking. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel and you can get notifications of when we go live. And, you know, rewatch past episodes and other information we have on there. I guess we'll jump right into it. It's been a week. We are a couple days after the election, which was on Tuesday. I hope the majority of you or whoever was registered actually went out and voted. The vote center that I went to on Tuesday was not packed.
Which one did you go to?
The one on Long Beach Boulevard, it's like a banquet center by Walmart. But there were no people in it.
At Burrell McDonald Park on the west side, steady crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a long line. So I always tell people in Compton, it's kind of easy to vote.
Yeah.
You get there, you get in, get out. I think the biggest challenge is parking. Find a place to park. But once you get inside there,
I drove by Wilson Park too, and it didn't look packed. Now, I will say in the last presidential election, I want to say we waited like an hour at Dollar High to vote. Like the line was wrapped.
Voted in person?
Oh. Because it was my son's first time voting.
Yeah, take pictures.
So we went to the little backdrop and we took a picture, and I thought it was important for him to do it that way. And really get the full feel of what it's like to vote. But it was packed, and so I was hoping for the same results. But historically, presidential elections do bring out more folks. And I think we had like a little over 22,000 that voted in that.
How many voted this time? It was low.
I think we're at, if we look at, we were at about 10%.
That means about 34 to 35,000 people who are eligible and registered in Compton didn't vote.
Yeah, so if I look at the city clerk election solely, there are about 9,000 people that voted, and that's a citywide seat. I think there's a little over 51,000 registered voters in the city.
51?
Like 51 now. And so, yeah, we're hovering at like 10%, which is, we're gonna see another election where the races are tight. And that's why I always tell people, every vote counts, because we literally see people win or lose by 10 votes.
That's why it's important for voters not to get voter fatigue, which means people feel I just voted in general, now I gotta vote again. Well, it's a big gap, first of all, but to avoid surprises and to get the person that you wanna ideally win, it's important for you to show up. Because we, in Compton, we have had races determined by 5 or less votes.
Yeah.
And just imagine if the person you wanted to win didn't win, lost by 5 votes, and you didn't vote.
And I've heard it.
That happens.
I have heard it. I have heard people complaining about same old, it's gonna be the same people, it's gonna blah, blah, blah. It's like the city's not moving forward. And then when I ask, because that's usually one of my initial questions, like, well, did you vote?
Yeah, did you vote?
And then they say, no, it doesn't matter. Okay, well, your vote, your household's vote, if somebody's winning by 4, if your household is 6, well, boom, you could have made a difference. But it's really hard to get people out of that mindset. And I don't know what the magic, I don't know what the magic solution is to it, but I know people are tired. We're hearing a lot of stuff. There's a lot going on the national level. Now we're seeing the rumor mills start about how California elections take too long, so we must be cheating.
Right,
But if you historically look back at the canvas schedules from the past, it has always taken this amount of time.
This is nothing new.
We're one of, if not the largest state
yes,
of voters
Yes.
here. So like someone was trying to compare Florida to
Well, Florida always had-
California.
yeah, Florida always had problems.
But Florida has 13 million voters and they have different restrictions
Mhm.
on their voting, so not everyone gets a mail-in ballot. You have to have, I heard that you can't vote up to 8 o'clock on election
No.
day, you have to have your stuff done
Mhm.
if you're a vote by mail voter, you have to have it in by election day. We have to have our stuff postmarked
Mhm.
by election day, and they will count up to 7 days
After.
after election day, those correctly postmarked ballots.
And that might change.
Right.
It gets reduced down to 5 days, but like you said, in California, historically, we've always taken the same amount of time. But when someone says, hey, they're cheating, why they're taking so long, and you don't know how California works.
Right.
And that's the biggest issue I have with people outside of California talking about
And some
California.
people in
And
California. I argued with someone yesterday about this whole thing, and the narrative
There's
is,
nothing new.
it's, it's an easy way to start a narrative
Mhm.
also, and I posted a video from Dean Logan this morning on our page, so go back and watch it, it's 6 minutes, but it's a very in-depth explanation of the process.
Mhm.
And he basically said, it's a common strategy to start that narrative
Mhm.
when so that if your candidate doesn't win, then you've already started the narrative and then you can say, well, see, it's corrupt.
It's almost like in sports. I'll make an excuse before
Right.
the game. Well, my ankle's a little tender, so I'm not sure. And then I lose the game. If you lose the game, and I said, well, I had a bad ankle.
My ankle,
But-
so same strategy, so please do your research, and this is why, I don't endorse candidates, even though God knows I want to sometimes, but I don't, because it's really important for me to help people find their way to researching and finding the candidate that works for them and their families, because everyone's needs are unique.
Mhm.
What I'm looking for may not be what Robbie's looking
Right,
for.
right.
And so I'm not gonna try to influence anyone's decision because I don't know what your priorities are. I don't know what I don't know, like, I don't know.
And for me, the most I'll do is I'll go ahead and tell you where to look.
Right.
This is why I'm voting for somebody, but this is what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And look over here too.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I might care how you vote, but I don't care how you vote as long as you vote.
Correct. Yeah,
But the people who don't vote, that's what
I judge that.
I judge that. I'm not gonna
I do judge
I'm not
that.
gonna talk to you about what happened. I'm gonna say, yeah, Candace won, and
I really don't wanna hear the
That's it.
complaints.
No.
I don't wanna hear any of it if you do not take the time to vote. Now, if you can't vote for whatever reason, I get it.
right.
And for those people, I usually will say, well, does anyone in your house or in your circle, can they vote?
Mhm.
If you can't vote, encourage them to vote, like that. I encourage my children to vote, like that's a big thing for me.
But, and I said this so many times, in California, you almost have to be in a coma. Because you get the ballot so far in advance that you can just vote for the thing you want to vote for. Seal the envelope and say, hey, can you mail this for me?
Right,
Can you drop this off for me? And
Yeah.
California allows it. As long as the person dropping it off signs the back of that envelope saying that I've been authorized to drop this off for Rodney,
right.
they'll count your
There's
ballot.
no excuse, like every registered voter automatically gets a mail-in ballot.
And somehow I'm always losing something. And I lost my driver's license or I can't find it. So I said, let me go online and just request a new one. And you go online, and before you can even start the process of requesting a license and paying for it, the first box that pops up, do you want to register
To
to vote? And you can go ahead and say, no, I don't want to, or do you wanna update the
Your
registration?
voter registration.
As soon as you go ahead and request, and it might be the case for any type of activity you do with DMV, that
Mhm.
you're gonna ask for renew my vehicle registration or whatnot. Do you want to register to vote?
Yeah,
And it walks you through everything.
yeah.
And then it
It's a
asks,
choice.
it's a
It's
choice.
a choice to not vote.
And you have the right not to vote.
Yeah,
You really do. You might say, I'm just gonna live my life. Whatever comes down the pike, I'm not gonna complain about it. I'll pay the taxes and property taxes and all that. That's fine.
right.
But you have the right to vote and register or not. But when you register to vote and then you don't vote, I don't understand that disconnect.
Right.
Because you took time
To
to
register.
register.
Yeah, I know it was rough this round. I
Right.
know that folks had a really tough time with the candidates.
Mhm.
We did see a lot of the same names that come out.
That's
And
it.
I know that, I'm not gonna acknowledge this fully, but I know, there was a comment made online that I was, putting down people that ran for office. And I actually posted a message for all the candidates, thanking them for stepping up to run. Because that's not an easy thing to do, and it's really not an easy thing to
It's not.
do in Compton, because Compton, I'm sure it's messy other places, but Compton is just a different level of mess.
And I read the message.
Yeah,
And I got what you were saying, hey, for those that ran and didn't win or didn't
stay involved.
advance, hey, thank you for trying. I appreciate the effort. That's how I took it.
Yeah, that's how I meant it.
But
And also, I wanted to express that you don't need a title to make a difference in your community, which I know a lot of people like that individual said, well, why haven't you ran? I do a lot on my own.
mhm,
I do a lot on my own. And so I have worked in City Hall at one point. And one thing that was real when I took that oath to work in City Hall was it actually limited what I could do in the community
Mhm.
because you are now a representative of a bigger entity. And so I had to really like scale down a lot of what I did because I had to be careful how I operated. And so a title, although please run for office if you're qualified and you want to do that, there is a different element that comes into play when you are sitting behind that dais. Or, if you're elected, if you're going to operate properly. And so not winning or not advancing to the general election, please stay involved. Rodney stayed involved.
yeah.
I didn't know Rodney until that last, what was that, 4 years ago? Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
I didn't know who he was, and he kept showing up, and I eventually got to know him as a person. I see what he does in the community. I see how he serves on boards and commissions. And, I just want to reassure those folks, like, it's tough here. We appreciate you
Mhm.
running, all of you. It's not easy, but stay involved and keep pushing because there's a lot of work that needs to be
And
done.
I'm gonna say before we move on, for those of you that did run and didn't win, thank you.
Yes, I
Thank you.
agree. Thank you.
Because it's part of the process.
Mhm.
We need to hear new ideas from new people, new
Right,
suggestions that might cause a person who does win to say, hey, this thing that the other person said, that's a good idea.
right.
I'm gonna undertake that.
And you
And
may
stay involved. I
inspire a
appreciate
young
you.
person to run
Mhm.
at some point. I do
Exactly.
talk to young people who are interested in that, but they're a little hesitant
Mhm.
because of the environment that Compton can be. But I also believe that we should be lifting up and raising up that next generation of leaders. And I think it is possible for a new group of folks to come in a more positive, solution focused light and drown out the mess
Right.
eventually, but it's gonna have to be a movement that does that. So thank you to those candidates that ran. So we're gonna jump into a quick city council update.
Mhm.
I don't know if you want to share this about the new mayor pro tem.
Yes, so we're gonna have a new mayor pro tem, which happens every year anyway.
Correct.
But due to some recent council actions, they decided to uh, remove the title from one council member
Mhm.
and give it to the next person in line. It rotates every year based upon district numbers. So District 1 will have it for 1 year, District 2 for 1 year.
Correct.
So the next individual to have it will be Councilman Bowers,
Yep, so congratulations, Councilman Bauer,
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Wow.
And yes, it is something that cycles through every council member on the dais.
Mhm.
It lasts for a year. This person, they will fill in for the mayor if she's not available to like
Attend the meeting.
attend a meeting or I guess an event, or they're like the vice.
Right,
The vice
and
president.
then if the mayor is unable, so it's an official designation. It's
Mhm.
not just ceremonial, which means that the mayor is unavailable to sign something. The mayor pro tem can sign that contract or that document on behalf of the city. It gives that individual the legal
That-
authority to sign. And it lasts for a year, so it's a big deal because it's something is signed improperly by that individual is responsible for that.
Right,
You know, well, which rarely happens because they'll have legal representation,
right,
but it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's honorable,
yes,
You know?
yes, so good luck to him.
yes.
And then we will just jump right into the election. So, we did this was the primary election, so this election will determine who is going to the general election on November 3rd.
Mhm.
So the top two score getters,
Top-
vote getters, will move on to November unless someone gets 50% of the vote plus one vote. And I have explained this poorly in the past, so I made sure I have my stuff in order. So it literally is like, if there are 1,000 votes cast, then this person would need 501 votes, and they would take it, and they don't have to move to the general election in November. And so there are a few races right now that the lead candidate has over 50%, so we'll note those as we go through the numbers. But I wanted to explain that because I was a little confused, and I think it's easy to get confused with all of this information that is out there. We already talked about the turnout. I don't think it was the greatest.
It was low.
It was low, and I always, it makes me sad, but I don't know about you, but election day is like my Super Bowl, so I
Right.
get up like super
Excited.
peppy in the morning. I'm like rallying people to vote. It's important, it's an important part of our democracy, and I hope that people understand what I said in this round is there's a lot of redistricting going on nationally. There's a lot of like just changes going in voter registration, like they're trying to push the SAVE Act and all of that.
Mhm.
And if your vote wasn't important, they wouldn't fight so hard to suppress it.
Right,
It
right.
wouldn't be a big deal if it wasn't
Right.
important, but it's a big deal, and they're doing all of these moves. So that should be your first clue that your vote is super important to our democracy.
You know, I look at it this way. No one has ever taken something away from you that had no value.
Yeah,
No one's ever said, give me that, because it had no value.
your water bottle.
But if it's something that has, you might not recognize it immediately, but no one's gonna put a bunch of effort and time into something
Right,
that has no value. No one's
Yeah,
gonna
that's
do
real.
these things to encourage you not to do something. Because the question needs to be, well, why don't you want me to vote?
Right. Why are you trying to disenfranchise groups of people who are historically underserved? And it's not lost on me that the African American or Black community, man, people, they fought, they died, they bled, they ended up in jail, they were beaten, like that is not lost on me
Mhm.
at all. And so part of my motive to keep going is I'm gonna honor that.
Mhm.
And those people fought for me to vote, us to vote. So I'm gonna do it. You know, I'm going to do it, and I feel like as hard as it was to fight for it, I think at this point in time, it's not hard for us to lose it.
And I always say this about local elections. Sometimes, a lot of times people will say, voting doesn't matter, doesn't count, doesn't matter who's the president and who's the congressman, and I get that. But you know what I tell people? No president has ever raised my property taxes. No president or US senator or congresswoman or even governor of some parts has raised my local sales tax.
Yeah,
My local officials have, my school board members have, my city council members have, LA County Board of Supervisors have.
right.
So those races are important,
Critical,
So you don't have to vote for everybody on the ballot,
right,
but there are some things on the ballot that are going to impact you
directly,
directly. And when you
absolutely.
don't vote, you're surrendering control of your money. I like to control my money,
Mm-hmm,
but you're surrendering the control of your dollars to your neighbor.
yeah. I think of our seniors, fixed
Mhm.
incomes, family, like the economy is crap right
Mhm.
now. So we're paying a ton of money for gas. Food is expensive. My husband and I were looking at buying beef today and decided we're gonna eat chicken tomorrow because we can do it, but we can't rationalize paying that amount of money for that
No,
at this point.
no.
And so I would advise people to also just start being a little smarter with your money because we don't know what's coming down the
Mhm.
pipeline with this economy, but a property tax that could make someone get to the point where they have to sell their home.
I mean,
Like, that's real, that's real.
let's go ahead, since you brought that up, let's go ahead and just jump to the bond
The
measure.
bond measure,
The bond measure was proposed by the school district to issue bonds to improve uh, schools, in particular Dominguez High School and
mhm.
some other
And I think
schools.
Jefferson, I wanna say I heard
This is
Jefferson,
several.
but that's it.
I
It's
can't-
not several, it's like two.
It's just two. Well,
Yeah.
it is two. And how many people voted for that so far, total?
So for that one right now, we have 8,316 yes votes and 6,032 no votes.
For a total of what?
I don't math that fast.
Where you at?
Right here.
We're new to this.
Yeah, I just don't
So-
calculate math in my head.
So with that being said, let's say
14,000.
14,000
Yeah.
voters determined in a city of 95,000 people if we should have increased property taxes. And of that 14,000, 8,000 people have said, yes, raise the property taxes on all the buildings and homes and apartment complexes in the city of Compton.
Mhm.
And depending on how much your home is valued at, that could be as low as $350 to the high side of $600.
So it's $60 per $100,000 of your
Of-
property's
of assessed
assessed value.
So people who bought homes within the past 5 years, you're gonna get a bigger tax bill hit versus individuals who've been in a home since the 60s or the 70s that haven't done any type of
That's our
major market
Our
improvement.
house taxes are super low because it's still assessed really low.
So with that being said, when you have so many people whose money is tight, who didn't vote, because that needed 55%, not the 50 plus
And
one.
we're at 57.96%.
But the difference is 4,000 votes.
6, 7, 2,000, like 2,000 votes.
So the difference is 2,000 votes. Out of 34,000 people plus or minus that didn't vote. And now essentially you're saying, I'm good with my property taxes going up. And when we don't vote, things like this happen. Where we'll see an increase in 2 years. That's gonna make some
When they
people
start
say,
selling the bond.
some people say, I can't afford to keep this house. Because you already have a mortgage, or in the case of the home paid off, but you're the fixed income.
And there are people with $10,000, $11,000 mortgages.
Yes.
Some of the people that came in newly, with the newer properties or the newly assessed properties, that's insane. That's insane. Compton has some of the highest property
I
taxes,
believe
if not the highest.
I want to say we had the third highest in LA County, the third highest in the state, proportionally.
So that's
Yeah.
it's crazy
Which
because
means-
when you look at the city, when you think of how much people pay in property taxes, and then you look at what the bang you're getting for your buck, it's not a whole lot of bang for your buck. People are fighting and arguing and advocating for basic services, signage, street repair, lights, this bridge on Rosecrans. I don't think it was supposed to be there that long. I remember when it was put up, but I think it was only supposed to be there like 10 years, 15 years.
Right.
And it's still sitting there. That was the 90s, I think, when it went up. Cause I had my first like long-term relationship and he lived on Rose and I remember coming over that bridge when they first put it up.
Rose and Rosecrans?
Yeah.
It's treacherous. But I digress.
Just a funny
Why are you-
backstory history. Actually walked over that bridge at one point, coming back from his house, like, please, mom, don't earmuffs on that one.
Did your mom know you were going over there?
She didn't know I walked over there like that.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, funny stories. Funny, it adds some
That's gonna be a different
spice
topic.
to our conversation. Anyways, these bonds are going to affect your life. I mean, and I did talk to a couple people over the week that I had a couple people approach me in spaces and they said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, there's been 3. So since 2015, there's been 3. 350, 350, now 360. They didn't use all of the first one. I do know that. That one was, I think they used 250 million for Compton High. And then the second one is for Centennial High. And then this third one is for Dominguez and another school. Now, what bothers me about this is the way the measure is written to fix deteriorating roofs, plumbing, heating, electrical, and other systems, enhance school safety, and construct, renovate, rehabilitate, and modernize classrooms, sites, and facilities, including media and performing arts centers, technology centers, and athletic complexes. Shall Compton Unified School District's measure authorizing 360 million in bonds at legal rates be adopted? Now, when I voted on the first one, I voted yes.
Compton High School?
Yeah, because I didn't know it was for Compton High School and it was written like this. So knowing that my kid's in Dickerson and seeing that there's kids in trailers and the school's kind of run down, I went to Dickerson for kindergarten before going to Our Lady of Victory. But I was like, hell yeah, let's give the kids better facilities, let's modernize these schools. And then it was like, this is for one school with a declining enrollment in the city. And so the people I spoke to this week, they were all for it because they were like, the kids need this, the kids need new schools. And yes, the kids deserve everything in the world, but that's what's that, 369, it's like $1 billion in bonds.
1.6 billion.
That's a lot of money. That is a lot. That's a lot of money.
And you make a mention to the fact that we didn't issue all the bonds, which is true.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that the taxation rate doesn't change.
Right. So they just pile on. You're still gonna get 60 times 3 per 100,000.
Exactly. So with that being said, it's very important that the community attends school board meetings. Because when they bring things forward that impacts individuals as a whole in the city, outside of school, a property tax is hitting the home. be it you have a child in that school or not.
Still
Or
gonna
be
hit
it,
still gonna hit your property tax.
exactly, so, the school board meets the second Tuesday each month?
It falls in line with the council meeting, which is
Yeah,
unfortunate
so-
because they switched it a few years
But
ago.
you can, with Compton Unified School District, you can watch the meetings online and you can participate online. Which means that you're able to go into Zoom and get home in the kitchen cooking or whatnot in the evening hours. I think they start at 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
You're able to participate. You don't have to be there in person unless you want to be there. So that's important to know that. So.
I will share that. I'll find that info. I'll put it together in a neat little package and I'll share it. So that if you want to tap into one of those, you can. But yeah, it looks like at this point, that one's passing.
Yes.
Um,
Now, we got some interesting races for council and mayor.
yes, so just real quick, in LA County, it's like 5.8 million registered voters. And right now, the count sits at about 1.6, so there is a 27.46% voter turnout. 75% of those were vote by mail.
But that's countywide.
This is countywide, yeah, I'm just giving county numbers. To give it's still low.
It's still up.
Like on the county level, it's still low. And so I know one thing that I realized this week is that LAvote.gov, which is where I tell people to go visit to get information and check results, that is only county level numbers. So the numbers that you're going to see for, say, the governor candidates or lieutenant governor, controller, like the top level, it's just gonna show you the LA County numbers for those ballots, so they're gonna skew a little different. So like for county numbers, Becerra is in the lead with 30.16, then Steyer at 23.87, and then Hilton at 21.74. But if you go to the state election numbers, it's a different thing. So Becerra is leading with
Right.
26.8 statewide. Hilton is very close at a 26.4% number, and then Steyer is at 21%. So there is a difference on the state level elections in numbers. The state number is what you want to be looking for because the LA vote is going to skew a little weird.
Right.
It's gonna look a little bit different. And then for Maxine Waters is running for re-election, and right now she has 62% of the vote. So if she continues that streak, which she probably will, she will not go to the general. She'll just win the race if she stays above that 50+1. And then for the state assembly, the 65th district that covers Compton, Ayanna Davis is in the lead at 45.68%, and Lydia Gutierrez is at 21.47%. So if that continues, there will be a runoff in November for that seat. And then for sheriff, which also oversees the Compton area, as you know, we're contracted with the LA Sheriff's Department for our public safety. Luna, who is the current what is it, the sheriff? What do you call him? Like the
Sheriff.
lead sheriff? He's
Sheriff.
just the sheriff?
Yeah, everybody beneath him is called deputy.
Deputies. So the sheriff,
Sheriff.
Luna is the current, and he is leading right now with 44.67%, followed by Alex, old name, Alex Villanueva with 23.10%.
Now that's an interesting race because no sheriff in the history of LA County has never not won re-election in their second race
Interesting.
in their history, which is an indication of maybe some of the things that was going on with his administration when he was president. So I tell individuals in this race, it's important, do your research on the current and the former.
Right.
Because in 4 years, he's been out, out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. So people might not remember some of the things that may have occurred
right?
with them. So
Yeah,
that's-
always research. Google's great, ChatGPT is even great, Ballotpedia, Vote 411.
So that's an interesting race.
It is,
Because you're taking the prior sheriff running against the current sheriff.
right. And I always tell people, like, they'll say, oh, you know, going into November, so-and-so has the lead, so we don't have to worry about it, blah, blah, blah.
Not true.
It's not true, because if you look at this, you gotta realize that all the people who voted for all the other folks, so 82,000 for, or 179,000 for Eric Strong, 82,000 for these other people, those votes have to go somewhere.
Somewhere.
So don't count it out, don't say I'm cool, I gotta sit back and not vote because,
And a lot of times, and you know, politics is a business, politics is the game. So a lot of times, the top two will approach the other candidates and say,
will you endorse me?
will you endorse me? Will you campaign? So if you voted for Eric Strong, and Eric Strong comes out and says, hey, I'm gonna support Luna,
Right,
you know, I might go ahead and say, well, I voted for Mr. Strong. And he
so
said,
I'm gonna do this, and that happens a lot,
but even then, still take time to do your research.
correct?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll jump right into Compton races.
City clerk.
City clerk, very important job.
Well, real quickly,
Yeah,
so city elections are nonpartisan. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, it doesn't matter if you're Republican or independent. You're running for the position of that, and it's independent. It's a nonpartisan office, which means oftentimes you won't see a D or R next to that person's name.
correct. You just see an N.
You see the end, yeah.
So right now for city clerk, Satra Zarita, who is the current city clerk, is at 63%. So if she retains that lead, she won't go to the general election in November. She will win the seat. Same with treasurer, Brandon Mims currently has 59.01% of the vote. So same thing with him. Now, Maxwell Burke, never seen the man, don't know him. I'm very, and no, he has every right to run if he's a resident here, but I was very interested to see how many people actually voted for him.
Quite a few.
Like quite a few people. That was a very interesting race for me. And then for mayor, we have, I'm gonna let you do that one. That's a tight race.
That's a very
That's a tight race.
Well, the current Mayor Sharif, is at 42%, and she has a sizable, she's about 2,000 vote gap between her and the person in second, which is Councilman Spicer, who has 17.40%. Now he's in a tight race with the third individual, Omar Bradley Jr., at 1382, which is about 212 vote difference, which is small.
And then even Omar and Inez Atkins are tight.
But the gap between Ms. Atkins and Councilman Spicer is pretty big to overcome.
Yeah,
But that race right there is tight.
that's a tight race.
Now, being a resident in Compton and being a regular attendee at the council meeting and various events, I take comfort in at least knowing the two individuals who, as of right now, will probably go to the runoff. But I'm surprised at how close that second place race is.
It's very close.
You have a current city councilman being pushed hard by an individual who has a name recognition. You know, and I'm not sure if that's the case by the number 3.
That's been a very, I guess the word would be contentious race. Which I know politics is dirty. But honestly, for me, I don't really wanna hear what you have to say about another person. Unless it's factual, like
Right.
factual data, data doesn't lie. But people tearing each other down, I wanna hear about what you're gonna do. What's your vision? What have you done if you're in a seat? And that seemed like a really messy race all around, which was a little disappointing at times. I know
But were you surprised?
I wasn't, but I think I'm always disappointed
Right,
because
right.
I'm like, are we ever gonna go and do better? Like, and I'll touching on this race, one of the candidates decided they were gonna bring my name into this whole thing. And say, kind of similar to I don't know how to phrase this in a politically correct way, but the narrative that there's cheating or funny stuff going on in Compton, which funny stuff has happened in Compton. I have borne witness to that. However, saying that I am associated with a voting site, and for that reason, their votes may have not been calculated correctly, or that some funny business. Kind of like the whole California narrative that's going on, I didn't win because so and so is doing funny business. Now, I do not host vote centers. I work really, really hard to remain neutral. I know a couple of years ago, I set up a table at a vote center that another organization hosted, but otherwise I try to stay pretty hands out of anything like that because of comments made like this. And the funny thing about this was there was mention of a $3,500 property tax given to this location for having a vote center, which this location that's being discussed is city property, so it wouldn't apply to
Right.
those people and it's not even my org.
Do city property to pay property taxes?
I don't know how that works, but like, it's just such a funky narrative where you are spewing disinformation, and I've been very fair in this round of the election. I usually don't let candidates post in my group. I don't share candidate stuff. This round, I let candidates and I shared candidates' information so people can make an educated vote. Now, the funniest part of that, and I usually don't get into nonsense, but I want you guys to understand why you have to be careful who you follow and what you listen to and what you believe. This location that all this fraud was happening at that's associated with me was not a vote site.
Yeah.
That was the funniest part, was like, you're making up a whole story about a vote site that doesn't exist. And so we really have to do better and demand better of candidates, because this messiness is not productive and it doesn't help the community. And I think it turns people off from voting, which I'm all about voting. And so that upset me to see that. So be careful who you listen to. Do your research. It's really easy to look up where vote sites are. LAvote.gov gives you a whole list. And there weren't a whole lot in the city this round. Yeah, I feel like before we had Dollarhide, we had other places, we had mobile voting spots. And it's also important to understand, like, the city clerk doesn't handle ballots. No one in the city picks up ballots. The register recorder's office is very strict about their vote centers, their ballot collection from ballot boxes. So this narrative is false.
And one thing that we need to, before we get back here, I grew up at a time where you had a lot of places you can vote in the city.
Right.
And now we're down to 2 or 3, although we have a larger population. And part of that is because of the low turnout.
Yeah.
Why would the county pay money to bring machines, pay staff to monitor elections, and you're hovering at a 10% vote turnout?
Right.
Because at some point in time, it becomes fiscally irresponsible.
And I believe there are some costs to the city for these things.
I'm not sure if they're ancillary or direct, but it's important that if you wanna keep having a voting center in the city, not far from your house, that people vote.
There's really like we said before, and we'll move on to the next things. Not voting truly is a choice, because if you're registered, you can vote anywhere in LA County. You
Anywhere.
can go to any of these, you can use a ballot box,
Mm-hmm.
like you can mail it in if it's reasonable time. So if we wanna keep these types of resources, I agree, like we have to utilize them and we have to step up our game with voting. So Council District 2, the two candidates in the lead are Benny Tinson and Anthony Perry. So Benny has 30.43% and Anthony Perry has 22.52%. That race was actually really surprising to me too, because I feel like Mr. Tinson came out from behind and just,
He did.
there was kind of a lot of mess in that one too.
And I know a couple, I know one of the candidates that's running. I thought that they had a very good shot, making
Yeah.
the top two, so I was surprised that didn't happen. And yeah, Mr. Timpson. So if you live in District 2, it's important in this particular race because District 2 will have a brand new
representative.
you know, and we might want to look at their involvement in the community, where they've been, things that are important to you.
Ask them questions.
When they have, right,
Ask questions.
when they have candidate forums and they have meet and greets, go and ask what their position is on parks or streets or graffiti or street takeovers or interacting with their peers on council, whatever. Ask the question, because that's gonna make you a more informed voter. That's gonna
Yes.
give you more information, so when you do vote, you feel more comfortable with who you vote for.
And Compton's such a small town, you likely will run into these people at some point.
Somebody's gonna know somebody that knows somebody.
Yeah, ask a question. I know that with Mr. And I don't know him and I don't endorse candidates, but someone called me and was trying to figure out contact information so they could call and talk to some of these people that were on the ballot. I was able to research, go to websites, get information, sent that to the people, and I know that some of these folks answered calls.
Yes.
They answered calls, they talked to people, and so exercise that right as well. They are voting to represent, and they're running to represent you, to cast votes that are gonna affect your quality of life, your like everything. So you have the right to ask them questions respectfully though. Let's keep the respect up.
That's important.
And then with Council District 3, we have another close race. It is the current councilman Jonathan Bowers and Randy Hook. Right now, Councilman Bowers is leading with 53.17%, followed by Randy at 46.83. So that one, if it stays kind of around that, over the 50+1, then there will not be a general in that one.
Yeah.
Compton Unified. So Compton Unified never goes to November. They only have their election in the first round. So we will not, even if the races are neck and neck, which they're really not at this point. They don't go to November. This is it. This is your chance to vote on these things.
So in Compton Unified, a person can have less than 50% and still win?
They don't go to general.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's important to know.
And so right now for trustee area B, and you can go to our Instagram or our link tree and look up the maps if you need to figure out where you live. They're in our resource guides, or you can go to comptonadvocates.org, and we have the maps in the election resource guides there. Tana McCoy, who is a former Compton council member, she is leading by 54.70%. She is running against May Thomas, who is a former Compton Unified board member who is running again. And then for trustee area E, Alma Taylor Pleasant, who is the current board member, she is leading with 67.86% to Tanya Kraft Perry's 32.14%. And those numbers are so low. It's like 927 votes to 439 votes. So that's wild. That's very low numbers.
And we already discussed the school bond.
Yeah, and then surrounding cities, just to throw it out there, have some big elections going on, you know, mayors, I always like to share because sometimes mayors and cities, they'll collaborate on things, and so it's important to keep tabs on who is leading there, and so for Long Beach, Rex Richardson is currently leading with 57.18%. He is the current mayor of Long Beach, and then for LA, which that has also been a very contentious race and in the news every day. Current mayor Karen Bass is leading with 34.98%, followed by Spencer Pratt with 28.24%, and Nithya Raman is at 24.89%. So that second place is gonna be a tight race. So one to watch. That one's interesting for me.
And then something that you mentioned, oftentimes we have friends and whatnot that live in neighboring cities next to Compton. And when you mentioned that oftentimes mayors have to interact with each other on certain projects that impact both communities, the same thing is for city council members. Because we do have a big problem on Long Beach Boulevard historically, have had this problem with the sex trafficking
Correct.
and prostitution, and that's their District 9. And a person to watch in the future who didn't make it this far, Sequoia Neff.
I saw that name.
She ran a very good campaign, but she spoke often about the collaborative efforts needing to occur between her district and the city of Compton and getting things aligned. And we might not think that the mayor of LA plays a part to us, but it's important to keep an eye on that because the city of LA and LA County bump into each other.
Right.
Then it's Compton. And a council member needs to be able to have the ability to connect to the county supervisor when they need assistance, and LA City, depending on the close proximity of things.
Well, even with the way I look at it is sometimes, and I have said this to people, when we look at surrounding cities, like I did a whole post, which I think made some people angry at me, but most people agreed, about driving from Paramount into Compton and viewing the drastic differences in infrastructure and cleanliness and businesses and all of that. And it wasn't me promoting any certain business or saying a business should have done something. I'm gonna clarify that as well. It was just making an observation of what Compton could be. But I also view surrounding cities as, hey, Rodney, you're running Carson, it's great. Can we talk about what strategies have you used so that I can evaluate what I'm doing here? I always say you should surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. And I'm not saying anybody's smarter than anybody, let me say that. But if somebody is doing something well in a neighboring city, ask them, what did you do? What did you or can we collaborate on something? And then with LA City, I know that's its own entity, but we saw Mayor Sharif in a meeting with Karen Bass and a bunch of other mayors from communities regarding immigration, which immigration right now, we have a population of over 70% Latinos here. People are affected and scared with these immigration rates that are going on. Our city has remained fairly silent or non-reactive to what's going on, which has not been good. But when you're dealing with an issue like that, yes, you should be at all the tables. You should be at all the tables. You should be having all the conversations. You should be figuring out what resources can we bring to the community. And so that collaboration to me is critical. We're also part of that. What is it called? I can't think of the name. I'll think of it one day, but we're part of a collaborative group also. That we're members of, and it's like all the mayors in different cities.
You mentioned looking at the cities around us. I've often said that I'm tired of coming in last.
Yes.
You look at the city of Gardena, which is not really close to Compton,
But I've always
But
navigated,
But you look at the city of Gardena, city of Carson, city of Long Beach, Paramount, Linwood,
Mhm.
you have the LA County, that's around Compton. And when you drive to these cities or through these cities, you can't help but notice the businesses that are present. When you go down Alondra and you go across the 710 and now you're in the city of Paramount and you see how clean that is. When you're going down Bullis or you're going down Atlantic and you're coming to Linwood, you notice the streets
right?
or the business is going up.
Or the
When-
cleanliness,
when
the
you
no
go-
graffiti.
When you go into Carson, off of Wilmington or Central, you notice these things. So when someone says, wow, this restaurant is in Carson now or Paramount now, and I see the food truck and they used to be posted up near Compton off Atlantic. And now they have a storefront, a business
Beautiful one,
in Paramount. Why didn't they come to Compton?
right?
That's a fair question.
That's a real
And
question.
the answer might be Compton did approach them. And they said, no, thank you.
I don't know the story. I don't know the
But
story or why.
But the thing is, when you don't hear those conversations, it's easy to think Compton's not doing something. And it might be true, might not be true. But when we don't see certain things happening in a community, we think that the city's not doing something. And if I was a city, I would go ahead and do whatever I could to eliminate that conversation.
Right.
I would put it out there, hey,
Well, I would wanna see it. I would wanna see it. We have a downtown that, like, my mom tells me about downtown Compton when she was a kid that had like all this
That goes-
stuff, like,
that goes back to,
I mean,
I can recall walking down from Oleander, maybe a little bit before Oleander, all the way down to Santa Fe. And there were businesses on both sides,
yeah,
all the way down. Tamarin wasn't broken up. That's a new street, considered, that now goes all the way through.
yeah,
For all the way down, it was businesses.
yeah,
And then the 70s hit, 80s hit, the strip mall craze hit. That's why you have the center on east side of Compton Boulevard between Willowbrook and Alameda.
mhm.
But that wasn't always there. That was, before that, that was just all businesses.
My mom said there was like a racetrack there that families could go to and like race their cars. Like Compton was a all-American city. Like it looks so different. There's pictures you can look at, and I truly believe that the city can go back to that with the right vision and planning and
So now when people are talking to the mayoral candidates and the candidate for District 2, you can ask that question. What's your vision
right,
for economic development?
right,
When can we get this restaurant? What department is in charge of economic redevelopment in the city? Who can we talk to? Because those are legitimate questions, but if we're not asking the right person
right,
that question during election time, then now I can't hold you accountable
right,
when you get into the office and I say, hey, when you were running, this is what you said. But now that you're here, you're not doing anything.
right.
So talk to
Yeah, it's a lot, and I think as someone who grew up here and then saw the fallout from the riots
Mhm.
and some of the buildings that just never came back up, the lot stayed empty, like that's real, that's real.
Pandemic hit some
The
businesses.
pandemic hit some businesses, I mean, it's such a multifaceted problem because it's, yes, I'm gonna call it out like it is, it's city has not done their share of things properly. I have not, whatever that is, we're not a broke city, Compton's not a broke city. But it's also residents need to also step up and take pride in their community.
Yeah.
I do see people throwing stuff out the car. I do see people like throwing stuff on the floor. I see houses that are unkept. And so it's like, there's so many things that need to happen, but I think it starts with the conversations. It starts with uniting. It starts with holding leadership accountable, asking for what
Yes.
you want. showing up, speaking out. Like, it's not always easy life is busy. But every now and then, like, show up to a council meeting. Write to your council member. Somebody reached out to me about something the other day and I was like, Facebook ain't it.
Yeah.
Facebook is not it. That is not where your problems are gonna be solved. That is contributing to me to a larger dialogue of messiness that goes nowhere. It's just gossip, unproductive use of time. Reach out to those leaders, hold them accountable.
And you know, being a resident of the city is very similar to being in a relationship. It's two people, two entities, homeowner, taxpayer, elected official. I can blame elected officials for everything that they're not doing,
Right,
but how fair is that blame if I never approached them? I never talked to them. I never say, hey, can I get my street cleaned up? Can I
Yeah.
get to rely solely on your neighbor or somebody else calling in to ask questions and you don't participate, I'm letting my neighbor down also.
right.
So we all need to speak. We all need to have that voice. Because in a relationship, if you don't talk, it's gonna fail.
Well, there's a lot, like, no excuses, but like, there's a lot of stuff to maintain in a
Yes,
city.
yes.
So I know right at Oleander and Spruce, there's this terrible street, like terrible street. And every time I drive through it, I would be like, oh, this street is so gross.
Mhm.
But I realized the other day, I never said anything.
Yeah,
So I sent an email and was like, with pictures, can you please take a look at this area of the street? And please, if possible, put it on the list to be fixed.
anybody?
I did my part. Yes. So I don't know if it'll be done or not anytime soon, but I realized every time I went through there, I just complained to myself
Right.
in my car.
Mhm.
Nobody's hearing me. Do I know if this person even knows that's a priority
Mhm.
issue? So let me do my part and at least share the information and in hopes that it will eventually get fixed, because it's been like that for forever and ever. It's just getting worse. But sometimes we need to check ourselves too, and like what we're doing to try to help move things forward. So yeah, I think we cleared up the mess.
And then, if I can go ahead and share.
Yeah,
So once we get the final numbers and once the county election department in the state of California certifies the election and say, these are
which
the people.
will be around the 26th.
These are people who move on to the general. We are going to ask individuals in certain races to come
Yeah,
and talk and answer questions.
share your why
Share
in a neutral, no judgment zone.
Mhm.
Share your why.
your why. And we're gonna ask real questions.
And
And
I think we can collect some questions in
Right.
advance from people.
so feel free to contact Compton Advocates
Or-
via email.
We have an email for this, Compton to capital TO
Say it again.
at Gmail, Compton to capital at gmail.com.
The TOO?
TO,
TO.
yeah, Compton to capital. I
Let's
will share
get
it.
on purpose.
Not
But ask
the number
questions.
two, two spelled out.
And we're gonna invite everyone. We're gonna try to make sure that the schedule accommodates so we both get them here at the same time
Mm-hmm.
and speak at the same time. And those that come, great. And those that don't come,
Great.
then you can use that as information saying, I wonder why they didn't show up.
And I will say this about candidates. I know that I can sometimes be a polarizing force to where some candidates don't want to show up. I have no judgment, really. Like, if you win, cool. I hope you do the best job you can do. Like, I want to hear what you have to say. I really do. Anyone who's running for office. And so I hope people will show up and share their why and answer some questions. Compton Advocates is also working on planning a candidate forum for September. We do that. It is a neutral event. And once again, it'll allow candidates to share, you know, their why they're running and why they feel they're the best person to gain your vote. And I do hope people show up because if you're running for office, you should be able to put stuff aside and work with anyone. Cause that's what's truly gonna move the city forward, and all these lines in the sand and things, like, it doesn't benefit anyone. And I really do worry about the people who get turned off from participating in this democratic process because of the mess, like, we have to do better
Right.
in that round. I think we're at about an hour. Yeah, we are.
You have any closing comments?
No, there will be an update. I thought that the register recorder updates were only Monday through Friday, but there will be updates today and tomorrow, between 4 and 5. So I'll post those results when they come in. I think now we'll probably start to see the numbers be smaller and smaller that are coming in, because they're going through the ballots that are trickling in via mail, the ones that are,
The ones that have to be
that were picked
cured.
up, the ones that have to be cured. So the numbers, I don't think they're gonna be these big dumps of numbers after maybe Tuesday. I think we'll pretty much know where we're sitting as of like Wednesday, Thursday of next week. But stay engaged, we will continue to update you. Please make sure to subscribe to the
Hit that
YouTube
button.
channel so
Hit the
that
button.
you can keep up with what we're saying and doing, and I don't know, I think that's
it.
that's all I have. So democracy works best when the people stay informed, involved, and unafraid to ask questions. That is what I'm gonna close with.
Thank you very much for joining us on a Saturday. Have a good weekend. Stay
Thank
involved.
you. Bye.
Bye. Let me close on music.
You're gonna hear me talking, doing directions right now. No, scroll the screen up.
Let me close on music. That it?
Oh, hit the, you're gonna hear me talking, doing directions, right? And then click that.